Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Welcome back, everybody. 4:02 in the Pacific Time Zone. We're rocking and rolling here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon. I'm Radical Russ, your host for this next hour of Toker Talk Radio. The phone lines are open at 971-533-7111. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, we are here for you. Of course, here in Oregon, we're looking at legalizing in the form of Measure 91, and the opponents of marijuana legalization are trying to play some shenanigans. They are playing shenanigans with our election. What they have done is they have proposed a 13-city, actually it's a 2-day summit and a 12-city tour. In the 2-day summit in Madras, Oregon, on October 1st and 2nd, they'll spend the entire first day on marijuana. And then in day 2, they'll spend 2 hours on alcohol, an hour and a half on meth, 80 minutes on prescription drugs and opiates, and another hour or so on brain scans and stuff that'll probably have a lot of marijuana stuff in it, and another half hour from the only drug court judge ever in Washington County who blames his daughter's murder on her drug addiction that began with marijuana. So, yeah, that's the educational event that's being presented by no one who supports marijuana legalization. Nobody presenting at their event supports marijuana legalization. Everybody presenting at their event is there to show you something bad about marijuana legalization, to the point where they even brought in the head of Colorado's Project Sam and the head of Washington's Project Sam to be on one of their panels. Why? Are they medical doctors who have some expertise in marijuana? No. Are they social scientists who've done some study on marijuana and its users? No. Are they public policy PhDs who've done years worth of study on marijuana and legalization? No. They are activists with Project Sam whose dedicated goal is to oppose marijuana legalization. What point is there of having those two people on any panel that's supposedly about marijuana education, if not for them to talk about what has happened in Colorado and Washington since legalization, in a way to oppose legalization? But anyway, the number one leading advocate against this stuff is Josh Marquis. He is the district attorney of Clatsop County, Oregon. That's up in Astoria. That's Goonies land, right? Never say die. And he got into an email conversation with one of our correspondents. And I want to read you some of this email just to give you an idea of this guy's frame of mind. Josh Marquis. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll give you some points of it. I meant it when I said that anyone associated with the tour should expect harassment in the form of invasive public records requests, like the one Steve Lurich and I received. I did not participate in planning the tour or its agenda, and my only role is as a DA resource person for the Madras Summit and any remaining sites in Northwest Oregon. But at this point, the tour is privately funded, the supporters of 91 having succeeded in politically bullying most funding sources away from any involvement. Regardless of my personal position on 91, which I suspect is different than yours, I am appalled by that behavior. I trust educators and prevention people to give objective advice on issues surrounding the abuse potential and medical issues surrounding marijuana or any other drug, regardless of its legal status. If someone is abusing alcohol, you don't treat the 20-year-old alcoholic differently than the 21-year-old alcoholic simply because one bought it legally and the other did not. Since enormous efforts have been made to make this tour educational, not a debate on 91, I cannot imagine a worse idea than inviting partisans from both the Yes on 91 and the much lesser funded No on 91 campaigns. That would turn an educational tour into a political forum. I'm participating and have already participated in several of those very different types of events, but they are not billed as educational and treatment forums. The funding for the tour has already been killed by partisans at OHA, Oregon Health Authority, and now at the federal level. And I've rarely seen more political fear spread on any issue, and as an elected official for 20 plus years, that's saying something. Turning the tour into a debating club funded by private money at this point would seem to abandon the entire original intent of the tour. Yeah, it'd be awful to oppose the intent of the tour, which seems to be to not have any voices who support marijuana legalization at it. See, they want to play this game that it's just some marijuana educational thing, that it's just the facts about marijuana. We're just going to talk about the facts about marijuana. The problem is, every single person delivering the facts on marijuana wants marijuana to remain illegal. And as far as Josh Marquis trusting educators and prevention people to give objective advice, are you kidding me? We're going to trust that the people from the rehab industry to whom pot smokers are committed at a 60% rate by the criminal justice system. That is to say, 3 out of 5 pot smokers in rehab are there because the criminal justice system forced them to go there. And the other 2, most of them, were forced by their employer or their school. When you look at the figures for people who are in rehab for drugs alone, just drugs, just a heroin user, just a meth user, just a crack user, they have about 40 to 50% self-admission rates and about 25% criminal justice admission rates. So we're supposed to accept that the rehab industry shills are going to give us accurate information about marijuana when the legalization of marijuana guarantees they will have fewer clients, guarantees a hit to their bottom line. We're supposed to trust them. We'll talk more about Josh Marquis and his reefer madness when we come back. We got to take a break. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show. 420 Radio, the activist radio station.
Join us for the International Cannabis Business Conference September 13th and 14th in the Portland Ballroom at the Oregon Convention Center. The International Cannabis Business Conference will focus on the emerging cannabis industry in Oregon, the United States, and around the world, putting you in front of the industry's foremost entrepreneurs, political leaders, and attorneys. Also showcasing over 40 cannabis-related industry exhibitors, offering VIP lunches and free nightly networking events. Prepare yourself for America's next great industry.
420radio.org is proud to replay Marijuana, Compassion, and Common Sense with Lanny Swerdlow, RN, from the Inland Empire, California. Lanny Swerdlow is one of the top nurses in the field of cannabis medicine, and he brings his knowledge to the Southern California airwaves on KCAA Radio in Loma Linda. Catch the replays here Tuesdays at 10 Pacific on 420radio.org. Welcome back, everybody. 10 after the hour. That's music from Bim Sherman, Mighty Ruler. That's some of our great Irie Wednesday music where we feature reggae, Latin, ska, calypso, African, European, all sorts of great world music. Gordon Green's got a tune coming for us in the next break. He won't be able to call in today, but he's got some more Manu Chao for us, so we'll play that for you at 20 after. And then stay tuned at 5 o'clock for Gordon Green's Music Planet, a 1-hour show dedicated to the best music in the world. And even if you don't know the languages, you'll love the music. It's some really good stuff. It's one of my favorite shows here on the network. Gordon Green's Music Planet coming up at 5 o'clock tonight. New episode at 8 p.m. tonight. That's Pacific time. Also, wanted to give a shout out to Willie Nelson. Yes, Willie Nelson, the redheaded stranger. He's got a Twitter account at Willie Nelson. And the other day, the Twitter account asked, what is your favorite Willie Nelson lyric? And people retweeted it. And Willie retweeted my tweet. So I got retweeted by Willie Nelson. I'm pretty excited about that. Willie's got, how many followers Willie got? Let's find out. Yeah, Willie's got, 407,000 followers. So that might be a boost for me, right? But my lyric, my favorite Willie Nelson lyric, little things I should have said and done, I just never took the time. You were always on my mind, end quote. Yeah, that's a always on my mind, favorite Willie Nelson tune. And, I grew up with Willie Nelson. My dad's a country musician. So, in fact, my dad played music with Willie one time, played drums for him one time. But, I grew up on Willie Nelson albums, almost like lullaby albums, right? You put those on when I was going to bed and listened to Stardust or, Honeysuckle Rose. What are some of the other albums he had, man? Good stuff. But anyway, thank you, Willie. Thank you so much for the retweet. Really appreciate that. All right, so we're returning back to talking about Josh Marquis, the district attorney in Clatsop County, who is quickly finding that he's in a political firestorm. He says, quote, I've rarely seen more political fear spread on any issue. And as an elected official for 20 plus years, that's saying something. So little old me, just another citizen, just asking for some transparency, has somehow gotten all these cops, DAs, drug prevention, drug treatment, drug rehab people quaking in their boots because, oh my God, somebody's asking questions. Oh my God, we can't just sidle up to the federal trough and get some money to fight against marijuana legalization in Oregon. Hey, we'll call it an educational tour, promise. It'll just be education about why having legalized marijuana would be the end of society. But it's just educational. Yeah. So in his email, he concludes, this is Josh Marquis writing again, quote, in my own county, the whole event has been canceled, almost exclusively because of political pressure brought by pro-91 advocates who don't want Kevin Sabet, Eric Martin, and maybe others to speak at all. No, that's not it, Josh. See, and we've gone back and forth. I've gone back and forth with Josh a couple times. My correspondent has gone back with him a couple times. And he keeps trying to bring it back to this being, we don't want them to talk. We're trying to shut them down. We're trying to make sure that there's no discussion on the issue. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. I want Kevin Sabet in town. I want him going from city to city, presenting his myths about marijuana. I'm not afraid of Kevin Sabet coming here to speak. Kevin Sabet came here in January, and I was there at the Oregon legislature when he was getting laughed out of the room by the senators in the room. When Senator Floyd Brzezinski turns to him and says, well, gee, Kevin, you don't seem to have a problem with the 50-year-old guy who wants to smoke a joint on the weekend, but he still has to buy it from a criminal source. And that was when Kevin gave his ultimate quote that, well, yes, there are cons to prohibition and there are cons to legalization, but the cons of legalization outweigh the cons of prohibition. That's where Kevin Sabet actually tried to tell people in the state of Oregon at the Oregon Capitol that legalized marijuana would be far worse for society than prohibition would be. Yeah, right. So we weren't afraid of him when he came then because we knew that our legislators in Oregon are educated enough on this issue after 16 years of medical marijuana advocacy and intense lobbying by numerous advocates They're smarter than that. They're smarter than to think that any of these reefer madness pronunciations are going to come true. And that's what they're afraid of, is people questioning them. That's why they're so secretive right now. They in their tour brochure, they actually pointed out at the bottom, public is invited, but we have standards of decorum, and anyone who's being disruptive to the event will be escorted out. Okay. Now, what do you mean by what do you mean by disturbing the event? What would qualify? What would disruption qualify as? Asking a question? Wearing a t-shirt? Holding a sign? See, they only want to be able to deliver the education. They don't want to participate in the education. They don't want people asking them questions. They don't want people questioning their points. They just want to do their dog and pony show, scare as many soccer mom voters as they can, collect their honorariums based on federal and state tax money, or maybe private money. Hey, Kevin Sabet's got to make a buck. I don't got a problem with that, as long as we're paying him with private money. Because you know how I get paid? Private money. I get paid by you and you and you and you and you out there listening, who send in your $4.20 a month, or your $9.99 a month, or $19.99 a month, or $29.99 a month, or whatever you can afford. Not one public dime flows to me. So I think it's only fair that not one public dime should flow to Kevin Sabet. But Josh Marquis wants to turn this into like, oh, they must be really afraid. They're somebody in a position of power really, really doesn't want Kevin Sabet to speak. Like we're afraid that when he shows up, everybody's going to go, oh my God, you're right. This legalization is a terrible idea. Did you see the most recent poll there, Josh? Huffington Post poll. Civic Science did this poll. It was in Huffington Post. 450,000 Americans they asked. They found from May through August, the support for marijuana legalization was 61% nationwide. That's 61% when we're including Oklahoma. That's 61% when we're including Texas. That's 61% when we're including Michigan. That ain't 61% in Oregon. That's 61% nationwide. And we're to expect that the support's any lower than that in Oregon? In hippy-dippy decrim medical marijuana Oregon? Yeah. All right, so that's Josh Marquis, and we're going to keep our eye on him. He's got a couple of other emails. He's been going back and forth with me regarding my my Freedom of Information Act requests. And he had to point out to me that a Freedom of Information Act request wasn't the right request. Should have been an Oregon Open Records request. Oh, sorry. I guess I'm not an attorney, Josh Marquis. I didn't realize all of that. So what had happened? I sent in a Freedom of Information Act request last week. I sent it to the Clatsop County clerk. Her name is Ms. Kennedy Grimes. And I sent it to her, and I'd expect, okay, here's your request, and I eventually will get something back, right? What I wasn't expecting was the very next day, I got a phone call from Josh Marquis. Okay, so I'm a citizen initiating a Freedom of Information Act request against the Clatsop County DA under the auspices of the idea that this Clatsop County DA may be breaking the law by using public money, public equipment, public time to campaign against a citizen initiative. And he calls me. The subject of the FOIA request calls the citizen who made the FOIA request. And during his phone call, we'll get you what I can. If you'd have just asked for my emails, I could have got them to you originally. But you asked for all my staff emails. That's going to have to go to the IT department. They're going to have to find out how much it costs. It might have a serious cost associated with it. And as a lawyer, he said, as a lawyer, like 3 different times. And as a lawyer, and the whole tone of this call was all about intimidating me. All about making me very afraid. Like it was going to cost me a ton of money to do this request. Like I was being unreasonable for doing the request. And so forth. So, gotta take a break.
Rabba-dabba-goo!
I wish I could. Don't got no goo. But it's 4:20 here at Rolla J Studios in Portland, Oregon. We're going to take a break. And when I come back, I'll tell you what Josh Marquis thinks is the fair thing to do when it comes to a records request on Josh Marquis. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on 420 Radio. We'll be right back. .420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children, authorized by the normal.
I don't use marijuana, but as a teacher of 36 years, I can tell you lots of other people use it. I don't believe in prohibition. I don't think it works. Prohibiting it hasn't stopped anybody from getting a hold of it. I would like to see it regulated so that maybe kids can't get a hold of it so easily. I know they get a hold of it now very easily. I support a new approach to marijuana. I support legalizing it. It's with us. It's not going to go away. And if we can get money through the taxation, we can also educate our kids about it. That's why I support it.
Georgia.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Irie Wednesday, featuring reggae, ska, and other world music genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 24 after the hour, and Gordon Green can't join us today by telephone, but he does bring us some great music. It's Manu Chao. We've played some Manu Chao before, great Brazilian music, and this is the live video for Clandestino. Enjoy, and check out Gordon Green's Music Planet tonight, 5 o'clock.
te va. Solo voy con mi pena, sola va mi condena, correr mi destino para burlar la ley, perdido el corazón de la grande Babilón, me dicen el clandestino por no llevar papel, pa' una ciudad del norte yo me fui a trabajar, mi vida la dejé entre Ceuta y Gibraltar, soy una raya del mar, fantasma la ciudad, mi vida va prohibida, dice la autoridad, solo voy con mi pena, sola va mi condena, correré mi destino por no llevar papel, perdido en el corazón de la grande Babilón. Me dicen el clandestino, yo soy el quebrale, malonera, clandestina, peruano, clandestino, boliviano, clandestino, marihuana, ilegal, yeah, yeah. Solo voy con mi pena, sola va mi condena, correré mi destino para burlar la ley, perdido en el corazón de la grande Babilón, me dicen el clandestino, yo soy el quebrale, malonera, clandestina, africano, clandestino, argelino, clandestino, marihuana, argentino, uruguayo clandestino, colombiano, marihuana ilegal. Escalcasco Bayola.
420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today. That's mjba.net. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. 420radio.org presents Gordon Green's Music Planet from Barcelona, Spain. Gordon Green has been traveling the world for more than 20 years, discovering and collecting great music along the way. His mix of eclectic sounds from around the globe prove that you don't have to understand the words to enjoy the music. Check out the show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time with replays Wednesday at 5 and 8 Pacific on 420radio.org.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
Welcome back, everybody. 30 after the hour. Half past here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon. That's music from Revolution with Suffering. And we've been talking about the campaign for legalization of marijuana in Oregon. And this campaign is being led by Josh Marquis, who is the district attorney of Clatsop County, the most northwestern county of Oregon. It's the county that houses Astoria, Oregon. And of course, Astoria is the home of the Goonies, as we all know. So, Josh Marquis has been the number one guy against this. I've been going in some email rounds with him because he's upset about my Freedom of Information Act requests. See, I went and asked to see his emails just to see if he'd been using company email address or company time to communicate with Kevin Sabet or Project Sam or the ONDCP or anybody involved with this so-called marijuana educational tour. And just trying to determine, have you been using any of my public taxpayer money to promote such a thing? Because that's illegal. It's illegal under Oregon law. It's illegal under federal law. So I've been going back and forth with Josh Marquis on this. And one email he sent to me. Oh, I've got a new message already. All right. Good deal. Good deal. All right. So here we go. I will continue with this. I made the Freedom of Information Act request to the county clerk. And then I got a call back from Josh Marquis, the guy I'm making the Freedom of Information Act request about. That seemed a little bit of an intimidation tactic to me. So I went and emailed Scott Summers, who is the Clatsop County, he's the Clatsop County CEO. He's like the county manager guy, right? And this was my email to Mr. Summers. Last week, I made a Freedom of Information Act request for the email records of the Clatsop County District Attorney, Josh Marquis. Specifically, I am seeking records from August concerning Mr. Marquis' involvement with the production, planning, and promotion of so-called educational events, the series of anti-marijuana talks being planned throughout Oregon this October. Events that Mr. Marquis was quoted by the Bend Bulletin as saying would, quote, pour water on the measure, end quote, to legalize marijuana. I believe Mr. Marquis has been using public time, resources, and materials to campaign against Ballot Measure 91 in clear violation of state and federal law. I made my request through the county clerk's office and received a formal receipt from the clerk, Ms. Kennedy Grimes. Then, to my surprise, the next day I received a call from Mr. Marquis himself. He explained to me that I had sent my request to the wrong person. He told me that the records request would have to go through him. Mr. Marquis further explained that I could have all his email records, quote, in just a couple of days, end quote, since he had access to all that material, but that the material for his staff's emails would have to go through the county IT department, who would then estimate the cost and ETA for my request. I'm well aware of these factors. I used to work for the IT department of the state of Idaho and could write the SQL queries for Mr. Marquis myself. During his conversation with me, Mr. Marquis reiterated 3 times that he is a lawyer and that he would go through his emails, but that I wouldn't receive, quote, anything personal like if I had to make an appointment with my doctor, end quote. I felt like Mr. Marquis was trying to intimidate me with his I'm a lawyer talk, and I didn't feel comfortable with the subject of my FOIA request calling me to assure me he'd fulfill my FOIA request. Mr. Summers, as the county manager, I believe it would be more appropriate for you to supervise the selection and return to me of Mr. Marquis' email, URL, and phone records as I requested in the FOIA. Having the subject of the FOIA request selecting which records will be released in the FOIA request is a clear conflict of interest. The original FOIA request is attached for your reference. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. Regardless where one stands on the issue of marijuana legalization, we should all stand for fair elections and against the use of public funds to influence them. So I sent that to the county manager, Scott. I got another reply from Josh Marquis. And this was carbon copied to the county manager. Josh Marquis writes, quote, "Dear Radical Russ, I foolishly attempt to expedite your non-request. The FOIA does not apply to state agencies." Oh, okay. Foolishly attempted to expedite. He continues, "I told you that I could likely easily accommodate your request for my emails from the jmarquis at co.clatsep.or.us address within a couple of days, that if you insisted on having the county IT department look through every email of every DA staff member, that would take longer. I believe that despite your failure to properly request this information, the county has furnished you with an approximate cost, since this would require IT time." By the way, folks, haven't received a single email from the Clatsop County IT department yet with any estimate of how much time or money this would cost. He continues, "You then said that I should do that, and you also wanted the rest of the material, and I made clear I was trying to expedite the process, and if you wanted to demand all my phone calls, URLs, etc., that I would have to go through the county system of disclosure and assessing cost. By saying I'm a lawyer, I was simply stating a fact. I generally arbitrate requests for public records, although this one I would not, because it would be inappropriate. I doubt you would be intimidated by anything I could say, and I frankly consider this request harassment." Okay, let's pause there. You doubt that I could be intimidated by anything you could say. I'm just a citizen who is well known for smoking marijuana, a citizen who visits your county on a regular basis, your hometown. In fact, this weekend, I was up the block from you, Josh. But I shouldn't be intimidated by anything the top prosecuting attorney in the state who hates marijuana and wants to lock up marijuana smokers has to say. Why would I be intimidated by that? And my request is harassment? You consider my request harassment? A citizen asking to view the public records of the top law enforcement official under the suspicion that official is breaking the law is harassment, in his view. He continues, "As you know, I am allowed to state my opinion on political issues, but I cannot use county staff or resources to promote those views. If you want to file an ethics complaint for me sending emails from my office address, often in response to outside requests, please go ahead and do so." Oh, well, thanks for your permission, Josh. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, we'll get that filed. Don't you worry. He continues, "Mr. Summers is the CEO of Clatsop County under the county charter, and I have asked his office to review your request, and I will then examine the materials to determine if I deem any to be non-disclosable. There are items you have no right to see, particularly, for example, if they deal with a pending criminal case." Okay, so I'm supposed to trust that I ask the clerk to do a county records request. I ask the county manager to do an open records request. But then those records will be vetted by you to determine what I'm not allowed to see. But I should just trust that if there's anything damning in there, if there's anything not intimidating, if there's anything that would prove your guilt in this issue, I'm supposed to just trust that you'll forward that to me. He concludes by saying, "You are making it pretty clear that you are accusing me of breaking the law with no apparent basis other than your hunch and want to blizzard the county with demands for information. I am confident they will follow the law." Yeah, just a hunch. I just have a hunch. It's only a hunch. Has nothing to do with that email that my correspondent received, where you talk about conferring with the ONDCP and Patrick Kennedy regarding this thing. Has nothing to do with all the emails that have come out showing that, we're going to pull out of this thing because it's too political. Has nothing to do with the numerous stories in the Oregonian pointing out the political nature of this event and various people pulling out of it and trying to reschedule it and trying now to come up with private money for it. Has nothing to do with that. It's just a hunch of mine there, Josh. Just a hunch. So I replied with the following. "Sir, you have been lobbying people personally and publicly against Measure 91 during regular county business hours using county phones, county computers, and your county connections. I have the emails, caller IDs, and internet comments with the timestamps. I initiated FOIA requests merely to confirm the proof I already have. Asking you to turn over the records from your email, URL, and phone logs when I'm pretty sure you've breached numerous election laws, would be like asking for an honest accounting of state funds from an embezzler. You certainly have a conflict of interest. Surely, as a lawyer, you can see that. I apologized if I used a federal Freedom of Information Act request instead of an Oregon Open Records request. I can certainly reformat the request to match the state statutes if necessary. After all, I'm not a lawyer, so this is relatively new to me. Also, could you explain what foolishly attempted to expedite your request means? Are you insinuating that it was foolish of you to attempt to comply with Oregon's open records law in an expeditious manner as possible? I'm sure you're a swell guy, my friends in Astoria say so. But so long as you lobby to maintain the status quo of treating me and my friends like criminals, threatening us with tickets and fines and jail times and criminal records over a plant, while you're enjoying all the alcohol you like openly and publicly without fear of consequences, I will be zealously ensuring that you don't get to use the power of your office and taxpayer funds to maintain cannabis bigotry. So I received a response. This was to me, and it was carbon copied to Heather Reynolds, who's the Clatsop County lawyer. She's the lawyer for Clatsop County. She's the one who also formally accepted my request for records, so that was nice of her. And Marquis says only, since you are apparently accusing me of committing some law violation, do not communicate with me further. Any requests you have regarding freedom of information or related matters, please contact the lawyer for Clatsop County, Heather Reynolds. Yep. Somebody's just a little nervous. Okay, so that's the fun with Josh Marquis, Clatsop County. There's more, but I think you generally get the drift of what's going on here. And yes, the Freedom of Information Act does apply to federal agencies, not state agencies. But every state, almost every state, as far as I'm aware, has some sort of open records law that mimics what FOIA does at the federal level. And Oregon's open records law is actually more complete, is more engrossing than the federal FOIA. So I can actually get more information under the Oregon law than under the federal law. So those requests are pending now to Josh Marquis in Clatsop County, to Stephen LaRich in Jefferson County, and we will soon be issuing more records requests of some of the other people who are using public money or now trying to avoid using public money because they've been caught. We'll do some more Freedom of Information Act requests on them as well, and keep you posted right here on the Russ Belville Show at 420radio.org.
Five of the last 9 major party candidates to run for president, 3 of the last 9 vice presidential candidates, and the last 3 two-term presidents have all smoked pot. Marijuana, the gateway drug to the White House. This is the Russ Belville Show. .420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally. At Royal Queen Seeds, we've got premium feminized cannabis seeds, including auto-flowering varieties for the medical cannabis user. We've got bulk shipments available and new CBD oil. Plus, we accept payment in Visa, MasterCard, and Bitcoin, as well as other methods. Check out our website at royalqueenseeds.com for more information. We are located in the Netherlands, and we have online grow experts ready to help you now at Royal Queen.
What the authorities should do is decriminalize pot use. You want to do it in your house, not bother anyone? Fine. Go outside with a joint or a pipe, you pay a fine.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer. or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Quarter after the hour. That's Empresarios with Bailando. That's my Portuguese probably sucks, but there you go. And that's music you'll hear on Gordon Green's Music Planet. We got a new episode. Well, not a new episode, but another episode, I should say, coming up at 5 o'clock. Intro to World Music, Volume 7. So if you're new to the world music genre, this is your Whitman sampler. This is your Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors, man. This is the show you want to tune into. This will give you a good basis for understanding some of the different genres in world music. And Gordon always does a great job explaining the artists and explaining the music. So please check it out tonight, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, Gordon Green's Music Planet. All right, so coming back to our my undivided fucking attention to Josh Marquis. It's been quite fun, I gotta say. It's been a lot of fun because it used to be that we legalizers, just in general, were the fringe. We were the ones that were the crazy kooks trying to put together any sort of room, any sort of forum, any sort of place where we could just tell people about marijuana and get some truth to them. And we were, opposed at every step of the way by this, by the federal drug czar, ONDCP, all the state anti-drug people. And for years, they've been able to just, with impunity, use federal funds and state funds from their anti-drug grants to fight against changing the law. Now, I am for free speech. I am 100% for free speech. What I'm against is paid speech using my taxpayer dollars. That's what I'm against. So Josh Marquis and all these people are trying to paint it as, oh, you're afraid of Kevin Sabet. You don't want people to hear what he's got to say. No, man, I'll fund Kevin Sabet to come in here just so I can debate the guy. I mean, I have no problem with people hearing from Kevin Sabet because they're going to know he's full of shit. I don't worry about that. When Kevin Sabet gets up on the stage and tells people, well, the cost of social costs from alcohol and tobacco are 10 times what the costs are, what the value is of tax revenues. He can't play that card anymore because everyone in the audience is going to go, oh, wait a minute. Didn't Colorado make $30 million on marijuana fees and taxes? Are you really trying to say there's $300 million worth of damage in Colorado? Didn't Washington State make like $1 million their first week? Are we trying to say that there was $10 million of damage that week? I mean, I don't fear Kevin Sabet or Eric Martin coming in to spew their reefer madness bullshit because, if anything, it helps our cause. When people go to these forums, and believe me, I'll be there at every one of these forums. I will be at every one of them. Not because I get any federal anti-drug grant money, not because I get any state anti-drug grant money, not because I get any wonderful honorariums or first-class accommodations and travel like Kevin Sabet does. I do this because I got a dog in this fight. Me and my friends are tired of being treated as second-class, separate but equal citizens. We are tired of the discrimination, and it's so hard for these people to understand where we're coming from, because to them, they see marijuana is a substance some people occasionally use. They just see it as a thing that can be regulated. What they don't understand is it's not a thing that can be regulated, it's a people. We are a people who consume marijuana. Now that vision of the occasional, every now and then, every so often, do it at a high school reunion joint smoker, that might be what they're thinking of. The person who generally isn't involved with marijuana gets an opportunity and goes, hey, smoke some weed, that sounds fun, and then doesn't think much about it from that point on. I'm talking about us, you and me. I'm talking about us for whom marijuana is more than just some substance we consume. It's a vital part of our lives. For some of you out there, it's a religious thing. For some of you, you feel like it communes you closer to God. I'm an atheist. I'm not into all that. But I still believe we are a people with a common culture, a common set of beliefs, a common set of traditions, a common set of heroes and history and oppression. Now, I'm not trying to equate us with black folks or women or gays or the disabled or anyone else who's been oppressed and had to fight to change the law. We're not exactly equal with 400 years of slavery or the genocide of the Native Americans or the systematic sexism against women or the physical barriers for the disabled. No, I'm not saying we're equal to that, but I'm saying we're similar to that. Our use of marijuana is beyond just a recreational or a medical thing. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we think. It's part of what we believe. And I think it's just as wrong to discriminate against people for what they believe, whether it's a religion or not, as it is to discriminate against them for being black, gay, disabled, Jewish, whatever. We are a people. And the use of drug testing discriminates against us as a people. You can't make that argument for alcohol. You know, some people like to drink, and maybe for some people, drinking is their life and they're all about beer and they have certain beliefs about beer and traditions and so on. Sure. But when we discriminate against beer drinkers based on the content of their breath, there's a scientific basis for it in protecting society from their impaired actions behind the wheel. We don't stop people from getting jobs. We don't allow employers to fire or not hire people if they choose to be drinkers. If a company came out and put a teetotalers only in their ad for jobs, there'd be a deserved backlash of people saying, what difference does it make if I like to drink wine with dinner in the privacy of my home as to how well I can do my job? There'd be righteous backlash against that. Just as there should be and is legitimate the backlash against those who would discriminate against us for using marijuana, and more so because the tests you use to determine whether we have used marijuana don't prove any harm or potential harm will befall society. When you are busting people, Josh Marquis points to this Sunday Oregonian piece. It's about a 2,000-word piece about a case that went down in Clatsop County. Some kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, out at a rave in the woods, did some ecstasy, did some meth, smoked some pot. Got up the next morning to drive the car. Sober, didn't take anything, right? But, got up the next morning to drive the car, fell asleep at the wheel, ended up running headlong into another car, injured 4 people. And Josh Marquis prosecuted this guy for driving under the influence, actually driving while impaired, and for a couple counts of assault. And this guy, this 19-year-old guy, is currently doing 4.5 years in the Oregon penitentiary. So Josh Marquis was able to secure a driving while impaired conviction against a guy who had smoked pot the night before, and for whom the only proof of his impairment was inactive metabolites in his urine. 4.5 years. And Josh Marquis at the end of the story is quoted as saying, well, I don't even know if the guy was really high on marijuana, and the jury seemed to think that there was a problem with it too. This is the guy who thinks my requests are invasive and harassing. This is the guy that locked up a 19-year-old for 4.5 years on metabolites in piss that even he believed did not prove the guy was impaired on marijuana. Now, Marquis will come back, and I've heard this response from him a couple times in a couple different forums. He'll come back and talk about how, well, in Oregon, you could have 27 grams on you and still only get a ticket. You'd have to have over an ounce on you before a cop would arrest you. There's only one person in all Oregon prison doing time for possession. He always tries to minimize, right? You know, like, gosh, what's the problem? Mississippi only lynched one black guy in the past 10 years. Why is that a problem? It's only one lynching. Oh, there was only a few gay people who were fired from their job for being gay. What's the problem? It's not like all of them were fired. A lot of gay people still have jobs. Why? You could be in a wheelchair and get all sorts of jobs. You know, there's very few jobs that discriminate against the disabled. It's really no big deal. See, Josh Marquis doesn't understand because he sees pot smokers as subhuman, second-class citizens. He sees pot smokers as some sort of vile threat to society and stability. He thinks of all pot smokers as one big amalgamous whole of tie-dyes and dreadlocks and piercings and facial tattoos. Because probably those are the only people he's ever prosecuted for marijuana, because those of us who don't look like that don't get the same kind of attention, because people like him are bigots. It's just bigotry. And here's an easy way to help people understand the bigotry of Josh Marquis. Josh Marquis keeps saying that it's just decriminalized in Oregon. You know, weed is decriminalized. It's just decriminalized. You just get a ticket. You'd really have to go out of your way to get arrested. Imagine if he was saying that about the Bible. Well, the Bible's decriminalized. You can read the Bible all you want in your home. As long as you stay in your home and, you know, the curtains are closed, because we can't have the Bible be seen by the public. You know, it has to be out of public view. Read your Bible out of public view. We wouldn't want to influence the children. Won't you think of the children who could be influenced by that Bible? Now, of course, some people would say, well, Russ, you know, there's religion and pot smoking is different, and there's a constitutional right to religion, and you know, but religion's something you choose, folks. Religion is not an immutable characteristic, like being gay, or black, or a female, or a paraplegic. Religion is something you choose to believe. It is a personal status you choose to accept. It is a role you choose to fulfill. I just happen to choose a different role. I don't like the Bible so much, I kind of like cannabis. Now, another response might be, well, Russ, it's not the same because cannabis can be harmful to society. Oh, shall I start pulling up statistics on how harmful the Bible has been to society? I don't want to make this an atheist versus Christian thing, because it's not, because wonderful Christian people listen to this show. And those of you who actually act like Christians, I love y'all. But I hope it gets the point across. Decriminalized weed is like decriminalized Christianity, and weed has actually caused less harm. Until it is legal, until we are equal, until I have the same right to sit in a designated section at a cafe and smoke weed like Josh Marquis has the right to sit in a designated section and drink beer in public, then we're not equal. Then we're being discriminated against. Marijuana has smoke like cigars and impairment like alcohol. Not to the same level, but if we figured out how to regulate cigars and we figured out how to regulate alcohol, those standards should apply to marijuana. Where I can smoke a cigar, I should be able to smoke a joint. That's all the time we got. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you